Hi, welcome to the Listener's Guide. I'm Steve, and we've talked some about short musical forms on this channel, and we're gonna get to some longer ones. But before we do, it may be useful to go briefly into the nitty-gritty about how musical ideas worked in the 18th and 19th centuries. I like to compare this kind of music to writing, and before we get into how to read an essay, it can be useful to learn how we build ideas out of clauses and sentences. In music, we refer to these smaller structures as phrases. These are more or less complete musical ideas that a composer can string together in different ways to make a much longer piece. One of the types of phrases which we'll discuss today is called a period. Many people like to talk about it as a musical question and answer. It'll probably make more sense if you just listen to it. So let's have an example. So this is the main theme of Haydn's Last Symphony, number 104. Let's listen to the question that he sets up. You can tell we came to a resting point at the end of that musical idea, but it doesn't sound final. If you remember from our cadence video, that's because we reached a cadence, but not the root of the scale. The musical idea ends just above the root of the scale, so it sounds incomplete. So Haydn has to provide an answer to his question. Just as your teachers probably told you to do on a test, he starts by repeating part of the question, but he comes to a more final conclusion. This is called a parallel period because of that structure. The answer starts out the same way as the question, which helps create a sense of musical unity in the idea. Let's hear another example of a parallel period, this time from Mozart. Here's the question. And here's the answer. You can see the same basic concept, but this time the answer to the question starts on a different pitch. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be an exact repetition of the notes, but as long as you can tell it's the same material, we still call it parallel. The second main type of period is called a contrasting period. This is one where the answer to the question does not repeat any of the question, but instead gives something entirely new. Here's the question from one of Beethoven's more famous periods. Hopefully, after hearing a couple of periods, you can intuitively understand the break there and the sense that more music has to come to finish the idea. Maybe you've even got some ideas of how that could happen, and that's great. Or maybe you're still trying to get your bearings and you're mad that I haven't given you the answer yet. Well, here it is. Even though Beethoven repeated nothing of the musical question, the answer still brings it to a satisfying conclusion. And that's really all there is to musical periods. These tiny building blocks may seem simple, but they form the foundation of musical works that are much, much longer. Now, of course, they're not the only way that 18th and 19th century composers would write phrases, but to learn about the rest, you're going to have to like and subscribe to stay with us when we bring you the sentence. We really need to come up with better words for these things. It's messing up my writing metaphor. Hi, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Listener's Guide, which is brought to you by all of our patrons on Patreon. We are edging ever closer to our first milestone of $100 a month, which really just covers the basic expenses of this channel, so any donation you can give, even if it's just $1, would be really appreciated. Check out the links in the description. We're also getting really close to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is awesome. If you like this channel, please do remember to subscribe, share it with a couple of your friends, and maybe push us over the edge. You can also find me on Facebook and Twitter, and all those links are in the description. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you next time on The Listener's Guide.